Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Craig, I had you on last night.
Thank you.
And I mean, I have to give you kudos here because you were spot on. The polling, as we were talking about last night, we didn't know at the time, the polling was terrible. Again, the polling was terrible. You had different polls. You had different numbers. You had a different way of doing this, and it was spot on. Kind of like what we're going to talk about with the others.
Well, I had a little help from my friends, Mr. Cahaly and Mr. Towery, wonderful lanterns in this world of fog. And the key thing here is that we saw exactly how the electorate would turn out. We also had a working premise, the three of us, that Trump had inverted the Republican Party into a broader spectrum, middle class, working class party that attracted minorities, African Americans, Latinos, with exuberance and with precision. And his message is resonating across the spectrum. And this is why he came out tonight with an extraordinary victory. This is historic. And this will have legs as long as the president-elect will continue to enact his policies, act on them.
Matt Towery, to you now, because, I mean, people are wondering, what were you doing differently than the rest of the pollsters doing? Because, again, they undercounted Trump.
Well, I just listened to Robert Cahaly. No, Insider Advantage and Trafalgar. We have always been able to find those Trump voters, those shy Trump voters, a little bit better. And by the way, Craig did a great job with his forecasting. He needs to become the new forecaster. I think what happened here is it's hard to get these people to tell you, because there's so much negative towards Trump and feel like they truly think they're going to be on a list or people are not going to talk to them. And they were just afraid to talk. The way Robert and I collect our information, we do it a little more anonymously. We don't put people on the spot, and we have very brief surveys, so we don't ask them 60 questions. Nobody but a political expert is going to hang in for 60 questions these days. And I think that was the difference. And I agree with everything the others have said. The demographics, the little groups that we have in our polls, whether it's African Americans, Hispanics, women, white voters in general, they all ticked up in our tabs, and that's exactly the way this election turned out.
Yeah, Robert Cahaly, to you now, it's amazing because you're going to see the pollsters in the next, I don't know, 5 minutes start giving you all their excuses for why they screwed it up. It really wasn't their fault. It was this. What do you make of the bad polling again?
Ones that the media elites called the quality pollsters, the credible pollsters, and yet again in a presidential race for the third time in a row, they've gotten it wrong because they really don't understand people. Polling is about more than numbers. You have to understand the fact that, like Matt said, they're not going to answer these long questionnaires, and you have to give people ways to participate that maximize what they can do on their time schedule. And the other thing is, with all that was going on this year, I think that the Trump campaign made a very smart decision to not listen to all the voices that said focus on suburban women. Instead, they went to the coalition the Democrats count on, the minorities and the young people, and just sliced a big piece off of that, because the suburban women who weren't going to vote for Trump aren't going to change their mind. And that's why Craig and Matt and I have been sort of a team on this, and we really have been able to figure some of this out.
You think part of it, Craig, is fear, where they just decide they're going to herd with each other so they don't get in trouble, they don't become an outlier? I
think you're absolutely right. I think, unfortunately, for most pollsters, other than the gentleman sharing the TV screen with me, are a little reluctant, a little hesitant, and it's also a function of experience. Matt and I and Robert have been doing this for a very, very long time. We understand the mentality of the voter, and we can penetrate a little deeper than most.
But I wonder, Matt, as you kind of look at numbers and you go back and, you're going to reanalyze and self-analyze as well. I wonder if this even makes you better next time around, because you've got the secret sauce. You and Craig and Robert have kind of the secret sauce that others are still kind of grasping for.
Well, Trace, you got me laughing because they both know I'm not going to do this again. So we were beaten up for allegedly hurting because we didn't have Trump winning by 4 and 5 points in some of these states. Well, go look at these states. They ended up being within 1 or a half a point of where we were on every one. But we showed who was going to win in each one of these battleground states. And I think that's where people are afraid. They just don't want to, they did not want to face the reality of this election. And it was very obvious if they just looked.
What do you think, Robert? Are you off to the golf course too, or are you going to keep doing this? I mean, we need some consistency here, and we need people who can be consistent.
No, I'm going to let my Doc Holliday go off and do his thing, and I'm going to continue gunfighting out here.
Good. And lastly, Robert, I mean, seriously, because you guys were so good, and I was talking to Craig last night, and it really was, it was talk about being in the ballpark. You guys were all right at home plate when everybody else was scattered around the bases, and I'm wondering if you had to give me one big takeaway. I've got about 15, 20 seconds for you. What's your thing that you want to tell people that they missed about the polling?
Well, the first thing I think they really missed was the fact that people are scared. They are scared about lawfare. They're scared about being targeted, and they were looking for a way to tell you what they were feeling. We always knew that there was going to be a hidden vote, and it showed up just as we thought it would. And Craig's article about that a few weeks ago is just spot on.
Yeah, you guys are all spot on. Thank you so much, Robert Cahaly, Matt Towery, Craig.
About that, to tell you what they were feeling. We always knew that there was going to be a hidden vote, and it showed up just as we thought it would. And Craig's article about that a few weeks ago is just spot on.
Yeah, you guys are all spot on. Thank you so much, Robert Cahaly, Matt Towery.
Well, the first thing I think they really missed was the fact that people are scared. They are scared about lawfare. They're scared about being targeted, and they were looking for a way to tell you what they were feeling. We always knew that there was going to be a hidden vote, and it showed up just as we thought it would. And Craig's article about that a few weeks ago is just spot on.